You are now tuned in to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your host, Annette Harris, analyze intriguing life questions and concerns, such as, do Christians suffer from mental illness? Have you wondered why they act abnormal? Or you may ask, what is really going on in their minds? Do you need Annette? Well, keep listening for a biblical understanding of the psychology of the mind.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to another session of Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. And I am your host, Annette Harris. Before we go further, of course, I must acknowledge the Lord in prayer. Lord, we thank you for this beautiful day. We are glad to be here. We are still here. And you have a work for us to do. We pray that you would get the glory out of whatever we go to say and do on this day and in this session. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Our opening scripture is the first part of Hosea 4:6, and it states, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee." And again, are here. Today is Wednesday, July 19th, 2017. And when I tell you that this year is moving along, it is. It's moving right along. We're in the 7th month, and I'm grateful that we are here. I see individuals are joining me here on Facebook Live, and I do appreciate you. When you come in, if you would please go ahead and click share, hit the like button, give me some love. I'd appreciate it. That way we can push this session out on today. I do see you there, Sharinda and Corey and Pastor Ricky Riddle. Tell you that's a wonderful man of God, and I appreciate him for even taking time out. He's quite busy to join us on this afternoon. Well, there are 3 ways that you can listen to Mind, Body, and Soul on today. I've just given you one, the Facebook Live version, but you can also go to the station's website, and that would be IntellectualRadio.com. It is spelled just like it is said, IntellectualRadio.com. And you can also look at us on a YouTube video right now. We are live on YouTube. How's that? So there's 3 different ways you can tune in to us on today. I believe we're also on the TuneIn app. You can download the Intellectual Radio portion there, and you should be able to hear us there as well. Well, I am excited, as I always am, and I do have a guest that's going to join me in the studio. At this present time, we will break once he comes in so we can get him settled in. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our segment that we have introduced within the past few weeks. And I believe that the Lord actually, both of us, this individual and I, to do this segment are going to present to you on this afternoon as well. It's the Get Caught in the Know segment, and know is spelled N-O in this respect, because we want you to understand what this movement is all about. We are talking about the Now We Know movement, and as you are watching us now, if you want to go ahead and go to the website, as Demetria will be talking, you can do that at the nowweknow.net, NOWWENO.net. And I have on the phone, all the way from Mississippi, Demetria Brand Triplet. How are you this afternoon?
Awesome. How are you?
I'm doing great, sweetie. I'm doing great. You sound all pumped and excited and ready to go. I tell you, sis, we are making a great team here. We're making a great team. I do appreciate you and you taking the time out, because you are so willing to share with individuals and to enlighten. And as the scripture earlier stated, you know, the word says my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So I appreciate you for your willingness to give the knowledge that we need. Now, I don't want you gentlemen that are listening to me to turn this off. It is not just about pads or sanitary napkins. Please do not think that that is all this segment is about. I want you to allow my good sister and friend to introduce to you this Get Caught in the Know segment. She has some nice things that she wants to tell us on today. Now, do me a favor, those of you that are on Facebook Live, when she begins talking, I want you to let me know whether or not you can hear her, because we will have to adjust some things if you cannot. I know you can hear on the station's website. I'm sure you can hear very well also on YouTube. But just let me know when she begins talking whether or not you can hear her. Demetria, without further ado, this Get Caught in the Know segment. What do we have for today's session?
Today we're actually going to be discussing toxins and pregnancy. And for those that aren't aware, because we are truly trusting and believing that God is enlarging your territory, for those that don't know about the Now We Know movement, we are an awareness campaign that educates our boys and girls about the harmful effects presented by toxins that our females are exposed to on a monthly basis. While we're not going to be strictly focusing on that individual topic today, I just wanted to at least let them know that, our mission is to bring awareness to the world, and it begins in our communities first. It's one thing for us to talk about, to do, but it's also important that we understand why we need to do certain things. And which takes me to the topic that we're kind of looking at today, which is, it goes without saying that during pregnancy, women should take extra precautions to safeguard their baby's health. It is crucial for pregnant women naturally to watch their diet and avoid stress and to exercise and get the sleep that they need. However, it is also as important for them to be careful what they expose their bodies to as far as their toxins. That includes what they put on their bodies topically, what they, whether it's, the type of washing powder that they use, whether it's the type of soap that they use, a lot of things that we take for granted. I'm learning in this whole process that much of what I thought was innocent and in place just to help me smell good for my husband has things in them that are, I smell good for him, but they are having a negative effect on me personally as far as my personal chemical makeup. We need to remember that toxins are everywhere. They can, like I said, leak into our bodies through our personal care products, clothes, furniture, even the household items that we use. Think about the fact that they tell us that we shouldn't mix certain chemicals, when we're cleaning our homes because of the gases that will be released at any given point in time. What we often don't realize is there are over 70,000 chemicals currently in use by the U.S. industry. 70,000. And most of those have not been adequately tested. So we don't really know how they truly affect us. But back to the pregnant women, they should always remember that during the time of gestation, that their baby's body is most vulnerable to chemical exposure at that time. Their blood and their brain barriers have not been fully developed enough to always protect them from the environmental toxins that the mother may be exposed to. The danger, as we know, doesn't end after a child is born. The Environmental Working Group, also known as the EWG, they report that children also have very low levels of certain chemical binding proteins, and this allows chemicals to reach their developing brains and other organs. Sounds like something that would be associated with ADHD and all of the stuff they're always trying to pump medication into our babies for, wouldn't you think? But, that's another topic for another day, for another show. But it is not always clear how all of these chemicals impact because, as we know, every individual is different. Every person's body is different. However, tests commissioned by the EWG did detect over 200 chemicals in blood samples of newborns, and of this number, 180 of them carcinogens, which is something to make us kind of step backward, because the carcinogens are the chemicals and the compounds that, aren't necessarily deemed to be the most healthy for us in our body.
Okay.
And so while 217 are linked to brain and nervous system damage, once again, going back to my previous statement, additionally, they did animal testing. And 208 of these chemicals led to birth defects and abnormal development during the animal research as well. So researchers believe that the rising rates of birth defects, neurodevelopmental issues, and other health issues in many of our American children are the consequence of dangerous, toxic exposure.
Okay, wait, let me stop you here, because you're stepping into stuff, right? When you're talking about people and their children and the babies. So you said earlier, and I believe all, we really should know this, that toxins are everywhere.
Yes, ma'am.
And so we've got to be careful in whatever state we're in. But I know today you're focusing on pregnancy. So if any of you out there know anyone who maybe have just had a baby or pregnant now, this is good information right here to take in and to share with your maybe loved ones or friends or something like that. This is very vital. It's very important. And I mentioned something to Dee earlier. I made a statement and she kind of corrected me a little bit. I do believe this. When you know better, you do better. And that's how she corrected me. But it's something when it's like you are. Well, when it's a cycle and it's like a continual thing and you're just used to, a certain way or doing a certain thing, or just take, for instance, like, once a woman has a child, after that, there's a lot of whatever you want to call it, and she would need to use a sanitary napkin. So then this is kind of what you're talking about. And the products that we use, we have to be careful because of the toxins, and then that being transferred even to the newborn. And I think that sometimes people, because they've been doing it for so long, they think it's okay, or using a product for so long, they think it's okay. But she's just here to enlighten us on today, to inform us, because misinformed, and we don't want to be ignorant concerning different things that we are already using. And I know I'm going to let her finish, but then we're going to be talking about deliverance through recovery. So you can be delivered from the products you use. Let me stop. Go ahead, Dee.
No, that is the honest to goodness truth, because what you just said was exactly what was going through my head. Because when you mentioned those products that are given to our new mothers in the hospitals, products that we have normally had available. And what learning a lot through this journey with the Now We Know movement, but our products, our leading products, let me say it like that, are oftentimes banned from entering certain countries because of the chemical makeup within them. They are not allowed in certain countries, period. Excuse the pun, but we understand what I'm saying.
There you go.
Those mothers in certain countries not given anything to release those the fluids that come after childbirth, many times those things are, what they're given are the bed pads. And they are allowed to, their bodies are allowed to naturally release what has been, by God, with the way that he's made us after childbirth, to release those additional fluids and things of that nature. So, it's more than a notion when you think about, okay, we've got countries that won't even allow these things in the border, but we have pumped into advertising to promote these items for us to use.
Right.
Now, you want to talk about things that make you go, But, I'm not going to get on my soapbox, but, a partial list of conditions that are linked to chemical exposure during pregnancy are, now this is going to be a one that's going to step on some toes and that may ruffle some feathers, but the interference with sexual orientation in utero.
Wow.
That is one thing that, and see, me personally, I don't believe God makes mistakes. He makes us how he wants us to be. So, to have someone saying they're confused, that's just something I personally, and this is theology. So my body and soul has nothing to do with what I'm saying. So let me make that disclaimer. I really believe that God has a reason for doing everything that he does. Now, when, and like I said, that's another show for another day, so I'm going to move on to the next point. But save it as the things I could say.
Demetria, before you move there, I just want to let my listeners know, those who are coming in now on Facebook Live, on the station's website, if you're just now joining us, this is Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. We are into our segment, our Get Caught in the Know, N-O segment. And this is, of course, is featuring and giving more information regarding the Now We Know movement. So we have that special segment on Mind, Body, and Soul now. And then we will get into discussions with our guests once Bishop John Hinton is who we're expecting on today. But you are now listening to the Get Caught in the Know segment on Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. You can continue, Demetria.
One of the other areas that has been affected by chemical exposure during pregnancy are genital deformations. And I'll just let people look that up because it kind of gets a little detailed on, when you start discussing that. Autism.
Right.
And neurodevelopmental delays, and disruption, high blood pressure. Now, some of these are, within the mother, the expecting mother, decreased fertility, premature delivery, and in some cases, gestational diabetes. I'm sure, a lot of us have heard about how women become diabetic while they're expecting, and then after childbirth, then they are no longer diabetic. So there's so many things that, are associated with disease and things of that nature. But even more alarming, infants are exposed to while in the womb may actually affect their inherited genes, not dreams, but genes. Health of their grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Toxins, a lot of people don't understand, stay in our bodies, sometimes depending on the type of toxin, upward of, 20 years. So we're passing certain traits down from generation to generation because we aren't aware of what we are exposing ourselves to.
Right, right. Yes, knowledge is power. Knowledge is
It's,
definitely power.
it's disheartening. And if you can take precautions, do so. And sometimes it is as simple as, because we often hear people talk about, the simple things like washing your hands after you go to the bathroom. Now, for some people, those of us who have OCD and, who are germaphobes, that's just second nature for us. But then you have some people that have, and Lord forgive me, but I'm quick to shame somebody. If I ever step into a public restroom and someone does not wash their hands, I'm Lord, I have to work on my mouth, but I'm quick to say, I know good and doggone well they did not just come and walk out of here and did not wash their hands.
We're alike. I've done that before too. I'm like, excuse me, did you forget something? And I'm pointing to the sink.
It's like, how nasty can you be?
Right.
But that's another, like I said, another topic for another day. But when we're discussing how these things affect our babies and our unborn children and how it affects these mothers, think about the things that go into their system actually especially for breastfeeding mothers. It goes directly into her system, and she is feeding these things to her baby. They are, not realizing that she's exposing her baby. Now, see, it may be on a small scale. To put a lot of case in point, a penny is a penny when it stands alone. But when you put a lot of pennies together, they add up.
Okay.
And you can actually use those pennies together to make a purchase. You're dealing with all of these different things that we expose our bodies to. While one may not do so much when it's standing alone, when it's joined up with others, it may have a negative interaction with, it has a negative effect on us physically.
Okay. Yes.
So honestly, and I love this statement that Lady Rochelle just put up.
Right, I was going to read that.
Knowledge is also the antidote to fear. Fearful of the unknown, but what you don't know will kill you. And she just did a show on that Monday.
She sure did. What you don't want to know will kill you.
It was phenomenal.
Yes.
And it was so informative. But that is our reality. What we don't know truly can kill us.
It can. And, if I can interject here, I do appreciate even the show that Lady Rochelle did on Monday, Warriors Talk. A shout out to her. It was very informative. And, I keep thinking, when I hear shows like that, sometimes, people, you'll get the people that'll tune in, that'll be all for it, and they're just gleaning, from what they, are receiving. But then you have those others, this is nothing and whatever. I'm going to click off on it or whatever. Well, I mean, yeah, everybody, but, just to even encourage Lady Rochelle, continue, with that, because somebody, you're helping somebody, whether it's one person. I always say, even when I first started with my radio show, if I just help one person, I'm doing my job. And some people may say, well, that's shooting low, but still in my mind, it's not a race to me, and it's not that I get like a million people in, but as long as I am helping, and by having the platform and the format, to advise, to instruct, to teach, this is what we want to do, especially here in Mind, Body, and Soul. That's the aim, that's the goal. And even as you're talking, there may be some that, come in on the live feed just to see what we're talking about, and then they may hop off, which is fine. But get the information out, the knowledge, and then, like she said, it's the antidote to fear, and I think that I think God is going to hold us responsible too with the information that we do know. If we don't get it out, I think he's going to hold us responsible. So regardless of what kind of feedback we get from individuals, as long as I'm doing what the Lord tells me to do, then I'm going to do it. Okay.
But let me correct you on something you just said about if you only affect one person, and can make all the difference in the entire world.
Right, and that's what I meant by that.
It only takes one person, because I'm going to be straight up with you. Reeling from Dr. Hill, and I could not think of the other doctor you had on another show that, on another episode of My Body and Soul.
Dr. Lloyd, Dr. Monica Lloyd.
Yes, that was from the knowledge.
Right.
Gleaned from that show. And I have shared a lot of that information with individuals that probably would never click on the link. But it only, same thing with, Warriors Talk. There are things that I have learned that I have shared with individuals that may not ever click the link, but they are getting the information. And that's what it takes. And that's what saves the lives and helps to prevent a lot of our illnesses. Segments like this one. If I wasn't doing it, someone would be.
True.
And the reality of the information getting out there is what's most important to me. My hashtag is Purpose for Awareness. Because I understand that a lot of what I have gone through, especially dealing with this Now We Know movement, because a lot of my ailments, the doctors could not find the source of why I was having issues with my thyroid, why I was having issues, and developing, the fibroids and various tumors, and why I was having my cardiovascular issues, my mini strokes, because it's all right. I'm healthy as a horse, but my body was shutting down in so many different areas, and they didn't understand why. Right. And they were saying, well, there's got to be one primary source. And since I have been a part of this movement, the things that I have been learning has led me back to, well, I'll be doggone. It may not be the only source, but it was a contributing. If I can keep some of our children, now see, there's some women like me that are either on the downside of their feminine flow or have completed it. But all of us have young females in our lives, right, that are coming up. And if we can keep them from being exposed to this stuff at all, that would be a blessing within itself. They're not dealing with the infertility. That way they're not dealing with the potential for having to get a hysterectomy, dealing with the miscarriages. They're not, yes, I'm not saying that all things will be cured and all things will cease, but some things will drop in as far as what they will be exposed to. And that is why I'm so passionate about what we're doing.
And, a lot of times because you have been through things yourself personally, that will give a greater testimony for what you're talking about. And then, people are able to listen, because they can kind of relate, to what you were dealing with, or the very fact that you dealt with some things yourself, and that will open up their, and enlighten them. I think what I'm going to do here, Dimitri, is to take a quick break so that we can come back, and we want to do, we'll talk about it on the break. So What we're going to do is take a quick break here. You guys that are listening to us, and you're listening to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, I want you to come back, because we're going to try and get into the topic of discussion on today.
I don't believe, and I got to stay hurt. I got to Lord, I believe in you. Lord, I believe. Lord, I believe in you. Lord, I believe. I don't believe it, yeah. And I got to stay sick when God can heal. I don't believe it. No. When God can I don't healing, Lord. In your power, Lord, I believe. Oh, Lord, you've been my shelter. You've been my healer. I believe. Yeah. Oh, yes, you are my God. Hey, the Bible says, if I seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, so Lord, I believe. Oh Lord, yeah, you said if I call on your name, oh Lord, the Bible says, you've been so good to me. You will heal bodies. You said you never leave me or forsake me. Oh Lord, I believe. I trust in you. You make a way. It hurts, I got to. Lord, I believe in you. Lord, I believe. Oh Lord, I believe in you. Lord, I believe. I'm a believer. I've been washed in the blood of the Lamb. You forgave me of my sins. You forgave me of my sins. And I'll never let you go. Never. I'll never let go of your hand. Oh Lord, I know that I do. Oh Lord, I believe. Oh Lord, oh Lord, I've been washed in the blood of the Lamb. You forgave me of my sins. I know you did. Yeah. And Lord, don't let you go. No, no. I'll never let go of your hand. Oh, I don't believe that I got to stay sick. I don't believe it. No, 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 no. I don't believe it. No, 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 no. Lord, I'm believing you. Lord, I'm believing you. I don't believe it. No. That I got to stay sick when God can heal. I don't believe that I got to stay broke when God can heal. I don't believe it. That I got to stay hurt. I got to live. Lord, I believe in you. Lord, I believe in you. Lord, oh Lord, I'm a believer. Lord, I've been washed in the blood of the Lamb. You did it all for me. You forgave me of my sins. You looked up my phone and found I need, oh God, I know. And I want to still my door. Oh Lord, I am. I'm a believer. Yeah. Washed in the blood of the Lamb. You forgive me of my sins, oh God, I love you. And I'll never let you go, no, no. I'll never let go. Lord, I believe in you. Oh, Lord, I believe in you. In your healing, Lord. Lord, I believe in you. In your power, Lord, I believe. Lord, I believe. Oh, Lord, you've been my shelter. You've been my healer. Lord, I believe in you. I believe. Lord, I believe in you. Lord, I believe. Yeah.
All right. Welcome back. Welcome back to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. And we are here on Intellectual Radio. And if you are just now joining us, treat with Demetria Brand Triplet on the line, but you are in today. And let's see, Eric Teverbaugh, I'll talk to you in a moment. There are 3 different ways you can listen to us. We're here on Facebook Live. We are also on the station's website, IntellectualRadio.com. And we are on YouTube Live at this present time. And I am excited. Dee has shared with us information concerning toxins and pregnancy. And I appreciate you for that. I am joined in the studio, however, by my big brother, guys. Let me put the Facebook where you can see him. I've always called John, Bishop John, and Apostle Mark, my brothers. They know
Indeed.
why.
Indeed.
They know why. They have been there for the guest and family down through the years, and we really, really appreciate them. So we just stole them. You know, you all know I steal people. So we just stole them as our family, and I am so excited. I'm trying to hold my excitement. Why should I? No, I'm just really excited that he's here on this afternoon. And how are you, first and foremost?
I'm doing fine. Let me get something straight. First off, you didn't steal us. We stole you. You know, listen, the Gaston family has been a part of our families ever since we were knee-high to a duck. And it is such a privilege to be here.
Yes.
And I really appreciate you giving me the time. You all forgive me for being late. I was supposed to be here a little bit early. I had a meeting with the mayor on one of the south suburbs of Chicago, and then had to come here. It ran a little bit over time, so please forgive me. But here I am. Thank God I'm here. Listen, how are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm doing wonderful. Well, now you hear this man has, I tell you, he's always busy, which, you know, it's an honor for me to even host you on today. You know, he's such a busy man, and I just appreciate him taking time out. I don't take anybody's presence for granted. I don't take your time for granted. And I'm so glad that you are joining us on today. Now I'm looking here, comments are rolling in, and Eric Taberbaugh he's trying to tell on me. He say, I forgot your coffee. No, I didn't forget it. He wanted me to get coffee to you, but it's okay.
I probably don't need it right now. Really.
See, I was moving in the spirit there. We're so glad that you finally made it here with us. We understand that your time is precious, and I'm glad they let you out of the meeting so that you can come be with us.
Amen.
But we're talking today because we wanted to discuss John and with it's a conversation and a topic for all, for sure. Well, first and foremost, do you all see his shirt? He has Deliverance Through Recovery, the DTR shirt.
Deliverance Through Recovery. DTR.
This is his program. This is the organization that Lord has blessed him to begin, and sent me information about him. Of course, he sent me like a whole pages and pages, 9 pages, his curriculum vitae, his bio. I'm like, wow, big brother, wow. But it's very impressive here.
Why, thank you.
And I fell upon, because he's done so much, was this program. And I had heard about it, and I would see, on Facebook, some of his, different events, and even, the classes. And sometimes when you have the graduations, for those that have come through the program, I was like, that's good. But as I read more, I called him back, and he knew I was frantic. I was like, oh my God, we have to start with that. We have to start with it. And it really touched me, because I think I shared with him, my heart just really goes out to individuals who, it seems as if they can't get out of whatever themselves.
Yes.
And I was just saying to Facebook Live before you came in that I think as the body of Christ, as Christians, I think we have a responsibility to help those who, may seem like they're sinking in the mire or what have you. And not to shun them, not to say, I knew that would, happen to you, or what have, because but for the grace of God, it could be us.
Amen.
But I think I kind of want to start today. You help me out. Redirect if you can, if you want. But I was telling them, you have an awesome testimony yourself. And I'm not sure if this is where this program began, but can you kind of take me through this program, Deliverance Through Recovery, what it's about? Kind of talk to my listeners. Let's try and inform them on today.
Well, my life, my testimony, it's not a secret. It's something that God used now to basically to perpetuate and push the goodness of the Lord. The route that I had taken in life was a route that I had taken, which was in the streets for quite some time. And everybody, a lot of people know that before I became Bishop Hinton, I was that guy in the street, you know, and to be honest with you, I wasn't a church boy trying to be a thug. I was a thug trying to be a church boy. People didn't know that. And I went the long route around. Took the long way around, and God, he just covered my life and all my mess, and in those things, I fell to an addiction, multiple addictions. And I was there now for 23 years. I struggled now. And here it is. And all that time that I was struggling, God had still kept me. I had some praying people that loved me, family members that loved me. And my brother, Apostle Mark Hinton, I could always count on him. If I made a phone call, he would answer the phone no matter what, to give me a word of prayer and to try to help me out. I got my dad that always loved me and prayed for me, people that just believed, and people that came to me and said, you know what, you might not know it right now, but even in where you are, God's going to bless you. He's going to bring something out, and there's going to be a ministry that's going to come out of you that you won't be able to believe yourself. And I've had people tell me that down through the years, still praying for. Now the word says what? That now the fervent, effectual prayers of the righteous. Now that's the thing that avails much. And I'm here to let you know, I'm a walking testimony that is true. So now if you got people out there that had been and had fallen into the street life, drugs, whatever the case may be, listen, I'm here to let you know God is a deliverer. God can do it. I don't care about the impossibilities of how it looks. Quit looking at things through your eyes. And what did God say? What did he say that he could do? I want you all to hold on. I want you to believe. If there's somebody right now even listening that's having a struggle in your own self and bouts of addictions, no matter what it could be, because addictions now is not limited, as we know, to substance abuse. There are multiple types of addictions, and I'm here to let you know God is still a deliverer. So I went that way and came out of it. God delivered me, blessed and saved me, and immediately he put me to work in ministry. And I had started basically putting people into programs. I would get phone calls 3 o'clock in the morning saying, I didn't even know how they got my number. I heard you help people. I'm tired. Can you help me? And I would put them into a 5-day detox. And then from there, I would transport them to, let's say, a recovery home that might be for a year or 6 months, or whatever the case may be. I started meeting people. That wasn't my intentions, but I just wanted to help people because God had helped me. And out of that came my Human Outreach Community Services, which we started now dealing with multiple different issues, not just in addiction, but domestic violence, because it runs rampantly into all types of dysfunctions in the world. So we started dealing with a whole bunch of different things in housing and stuff, and we just started helping people. And out of that, I would go to certain programs, and I found that certain programs in the world, the 12-step programs, were a little bit how can I say it? Yeah. And actually this is what I saw. I saw people that were in the 12-step programs, and they weren't, they went through a 12-step, but they were angry. They had issues. They still did the same things that they did when they were in the world using. They stopped using, but that was the only accomplishment that they had. They still had the same mindset that they had. They still had street mentalities.
And how about this? When I hear about Alcoholics Anonymous, or when they go for their, treatment or go into these groups, the first thing what they say, my name is Susie, and I'm an alcoholic. I am. And it's like they teach them that this is who you are. Yeah, we trying to get you to stop drinking, but you're still an alcoholic. My mind doesn't grasp that.
Now, you have to understand something. First off, you have to understand what God said in your life. If you're now born again, if you're saved, sanctified, if you're delivered, then you understand now what the word says that now any man be in Christ, they become what? A new creation. Old things pass away, and behold, all things now in your life becomes new. So what you were before God saved you is not who you are after he saves you. And I'm here to tell you, in anything, we're not just talking about, listen, take the mindset off. We're not talking about just addictions. I'm talking about whatever the stronghold was, whatever the thing that they called you, whatever your nickname was, street name, whatever your family called you before you became saved. You are not that individual. They may want to call you that. They might want to try to tell you that. They might want to even nail you to the cross and keep you there. But God said, because now you're born again, you're in me, I made you a new creation, and old things pass away. It doesn't matter if they call you the old creature. You know that you're a new creature. If you continue to live as God wants you to live, guess what's going to happen? They too will turn around. They will give you the respect. They will see that God truly is working in your life, and everything that was old old that was attached to you, it has to drop.
Yeah.
They will see the new creation. They will see the change in your life, and you will be the overcomer of whatever battle that you had in your life. People will see it. People will respect you, and they have to fall in line.
Yo, look, I got a preacher on here. Good Lord. He just moved and shifted, but it all comes together. I'm like, oh my gosh. Do you all know who I have sitting here? I'm sure you know who he is and who he is the son of. He's the son of the late Apostle Richard Daniel Hinton.
Yeah.
And you can just hear his daddy all in him.
Yeah.
He's just all he's carrying on the legacy. Well, he had already started before his father passed, he and his brother. But I just appreciate how you just, and I think what you're doing is, which is so important, just like I'm really trying to do with this actual radio show, is to bring in the spiritual aspect of daily basis.
Sure.
So because my background is in psychology, I'm not going to shun away. I grew up in the church.
Sure.
So I'm trying to bring both of those, areas in together.
And that goes into when I was saying, when I first started going now to 12-step programs, the thing that was missing was spirituality. I'll tell you, they say that it's the spiritual concept of what they do. But here it is. I have a problem now in any place that limits who your higher power is. And so now, if really you want to help someone, why are you limiting the names of their higher power? In other words, if you come and you say that Allah has blessed you, I'm not going to shun you because you use the name of Allah. If that is your choice, that is your choice. I think an individual, when they go to a 12-step program, no matter what it is, secular or otherwise, if they want to give a name to their higher power, you should allow them to give the name to the higher power. Thus comes deliverance through recovery. To find out there are a lot of people that got shunned. They wanted to identify a higher power, and because they weren't really allowed to say Jesus, let's just put the name out there, because they're not able to say that name, they basically had to be put inside of a box. And now they teach you how to overcome things, but they don't tell you how to basically allow Christ to truly guide you in a new mindset. And so now we have a lot of people now that have been through these things, and they go through their lives basically with the same mentality. I have news for you now. If you're bound to addiction, those that are truly set free from the addiction itself, but you're set free from the mindset that came with it. If you're an individual that had street life in you, something inside of you, as you mature, maturation calls for you to think differently. It calls for you to look at things differently. It calls for you to have a different perspective of life. Your goals should change. Your taste should change. Can I even dare to tell you your environment should change? Your friends, it should change, because you're changing. Listen, you're shifting dynamics now. It's a paradigm shift in your life, and it's going to cause for you to move out of one area, and something that dramatic, it causes not just for you to shift, but everything in your environment has to shift.
Wow. I don't know where to go with this. Let's see. This is deep. Andrew Rose, he's a minister. He says, excellent teaching. I'm looking at these comments as they're coming across here. Demetria, you're still on my line here. What I see you commenting on my Facebook Live, but what do you want to say here?
Amen and amen.
Amen.
Because she had mentioned earlier something about, let's see, she said, you're exactly right. She said, this is what I saw when I worked with the residential rehabilitation program.
Sure.
What were you referring to with that comment?
When he was talking about how they don't encourage they always reference the quote unquote higher power, but they never really allow you to acknowledge who your quote unquote higher power is.
Yes.
They will, especially when you're dealing with programs that have government referrals,
funding.
like,
Definitely.
When you have referrals coming from, the courts, and, they're always talking about keeping church and state separated. But when you're talking about these 12-step programs, you can't turn around and separate the one that is going to bring about your change.
That's it.
You can't separate him from the changes that you're trying to have occur in your life. Because I put in there, change comes from confession with your mouth.
Yes, it
okay,
does.
I can say it, but if I can't turn around and acknowledge the God that is changing me, what's really changing?
Right. Exactly.
That's it. That's it. You're hitting it on the head. I agree with you 100%. And because they bind us like that, basically you become bound, and they want you to get it, but they don't want you to have all of it.
Right.
And so there are so many dynamics now. And if I could just say so now, I've come to find out in a big way, it's a game that's really played when it comes down to substance abuse, when it comes down now to the political agenda. Let me just share this with you. Isn't it funny now, when you go to college for 2 years, you're going to come out with a degree. You're going to pay college tuition, right? And you're going to come out, if you pass, you come out with a degree, right? You come out with an associate's degree, or whatever the case may be, whatever you're going for. In time, you come degree. A degree is respected down through the years. You can't take it away. Tell me, how is it now that people that come out of addiction, they send them to college, but they give them what you call a CADC, a Councils of Addiction Studies certificate. This certificate has to be renewed every 2 years. It takes money to renew that certificate. Now, the accomplishments that they make in going to college and taking these tests and paying tuitions for this, they get a certificate that can be taken away every 2 years. Let me switch this for you. Let me just think now. Let me change the agenda about really politics now and true help. So how is it that somebody now that comes out of an addictive lifestyle, because now it's usually people that have experienced that want to help people, and so now they group those people and they give them 2 years of college. Well, you have to pay this money back now, but it's a certificate. You have to have so many training hours every year that you have to pay for, and then you have to come back and you have to buy the certificate again every 2 years. Now, if you don't see that there's a bigger picture here,
right?
They're basically treating the mentality of the person that wants to help somebody just like I'm sorry, can I say it? Just like the dope dealer did the addict. It's like, as long as you keep paying for it, I'm gonna keep putting it out there.
Wow.
Now, if you really want to change, let's change some of the basic principles that they put here in teaching the 12-step principles, because now we know that the 12-step principles was originated from a company of guys along with a doctor and Bill and everybody else, and they took the 12-step concept from the Bible. Step all the way to the 12th step. It's godly principles of morality, principles of mind change and heart change. Even the 12th step, it tells you about, now that I've overcome these addictions, I go to tell others. What is that? That's discipleship. Everything now is taken from the biblical perspective and put into 12 steps. It was originally now AA that put it out there, that was closer to the foundation of the Bible and principle. And even in the AA, they say that sooner or later, they say, if you go to the beginning editions of AA, you'll see what Bill wrote, and he says, listen, so far we have served 160,000 recovered alcoholics. Today, they tell you that recovery is for a lifetime. Where did they get that from? That's not the principles of the book. They go off the book and they make up now their own rules. If you go to these classes, you'll hear a lot of these people teaching, and the key principle is to keep you coming back for something that you should graduate from. Don't get me wrong, but there should be a time where you pass the teacher, where you learn, where you excel, where you absorb and you grow, you nourish, you flourish, and you go. Not to have the concept of going to the same meeting for the next 20 years. Teaching you that you're always in an addictive state of mind is basically, that's a loaded gun given to a kid.
Right.
And it's not the way that you really should be teaching people about true recovery. Recovery is not meant for a lifetime. Person has cancer, they find the cancer, they're able to heal the cancer, they're in recovery. They're in the recovery unit for a while. But then after they find out that there's been healed, what do? They send you home. Well, why is this a different type of recovery?
Come on now.
It's a sickness, is it not? So then if now you become healed, should you not also recover? So now there are some principles that get in the 12-step program that they teach, now secular, they teach. And I, in this book, Deliverance to Recovery, and in our program, we kind of teach you to ask questions for yourself. If truly Christ is your higher power, then why don't you go to the other book called the Bible and see what he says about some of these situations and struggles in your life? All we do is give you a suggestion. Look into another book with another authority that you call your higher power and see what he says. Because see, now, if Christ says I'm a new creature, I cannot get in front of you and say my name is John and I'm an addict. No,
Right.
because he's changed the
That's
addiction.
right.
I'm not that individual anymore. I should have the liberty to stand up in a group of people, NACAA, whatever it is, and say, listen, Christ had delivered me. I'm a different individual, but I come here for support, and I come here to support you. It should be accepted. But now the government wants to cross that line. Why? Because you're bringing the agenda of Christ in it.
Okay.
Now, let's just switch the page for a minute.
What do you mean the government wants to cross that line? What's that mean?
I'm about to tell you.
Okay.
Christmas is no longer Christmas, it's Xmas.
Come on now.
You can't say Merry Christmas, you'll get fired. You can't say Happy Holidays. Principle of this country, let's be honest with you, when you use Christ, they're going to fire at you. You can use any other, listen, you can use any other deity. They won't bother you. You can say God, because God is autonomous. Or in other words, it could be referenced to any God that you can talk about. But when you define the God that you're talking about, and you say it by the deliverer, which was Christ, then this government will come at you. And it will tell you, you can't use that word. You know why? Now, I'm just going to say, and I know it's an intellectual radio, but let me give you my spiritual intellectualism. And I'm just going to tell you the reason why they do that simply is because they know that Christ truly is the answer. It's a sin-sick world. We're looking for things today. Really, Christ is truly the answer. So now they attack the word Christ. And so now when it comes down to the teaching mechanisms and perspective of recovery and addiction, they want to take that name and they want to eradicate it. They want to take it out. But you cannot tell me to take it out if this is who I reference to help me to change my mind, to change my heart, to change the way that I think.
Because it wasn't JoJo.
It wasn't JoJo. and I think that anyone, can I say this? And to everybody out there listening, hear my defense on this. Whoever you want to believe in as your deity and your higher power, that's you. Just don't limit mine. Can I tell you something? I came to your house before.
Right.
And if I'd have came to your house, when I came to your house, when we kids, you know, because me and your brother were friends.
Yes.
So now when I came to the house, your mom was there.
Yes.
Now, when I come to a person's house, let's say I came to your house for the first time, you introduced me to your mother. This is Mrs. So-and-so. This is John Henson. If I go into your house and say, hey, lady, how you doing? Now, you're going to be a little bit turned at me. You're going to be a little mad at me. If I walked into your house, you gave me her name and I said, hey, woman.
Right.
You're going to be a little ticked off. You're not going to look at me the same. You're going to be a little mad.
She would have
now,
been too.
My question is, why would you be mad? She is a lady. She is a woman. The reason why is because I didn't give her the title. Come on now. And that she deserves. That separates her from every other lady and every other woman in the world. And that is her surname. Now, because of that, and because I did not address the name that she is known for, you got offended. That's the same way I feel when you talk about Jesus.
Come on now.
And tell me that I can't bring him into the room that I go into. I got to be able to bring him into whatever room I go into because that is my deliverer. Yes. And I believe that I have to lift him up and protect that deity as well.
Whew. You've said a mouthful. They're on here. They're saying you are preaching. They are really, really enjoying you. I mean, but it's. I can tell you're so passionate about this, and I love this. I do want to ask you a question. I want to say something too, because she's keep putting messages on here on Facebook.
Definitely ask the questions.
Now, I always say, and it is true, necessity is the mother of all invention, and I believe that. Out there struggling, you were out there addicted. Did you go through a 12-step program?
I went through a 90-day program.
Okay.
Now here it is. They had the 12-step program there.
Okay.
But at this place, they also had a Monday night Bible class. I chose, instead of going on that night to a 12-step program, because sometimes they made you go, but on one night they would give you the choice. I went to the Bible class. And the Bible class, it fit me better. Can I tell you something? The majority of the people, it was 80 residents there. Can I tell you, 60 out of 80 residents every Monday night will be in the Bible class.
See, and that resonated more with you.
It resonated more with the majority of them because they understood that there was a higher power that should be more talked about and understood.
Right.
They knew it was a higher power. They believed in Jesus. They just didn't know Jesus.
Right.
So because they didn't really know Jesus like I knew Jesus or like you know Jesus,
Yes.
they wanted to know more about him. They were looking for the identity of their higher power. You understand?
I do.
And they knew that it was in the Bible. So they came to the classes because they was like, something greater than myself has got to bring me to the sanity that I need.
Yes.
And therefore, they came to the Bible classes because they were looking for something more than what they were talking about just in the 12-step recovery.
Right, right.
You know, because it's a lot of language that's used and things like that. That's really, as far as I'm concerned, it's not really preferred for me. But you know, you can express yourself how you feel. So 60% of the residents would come to a Bible class, and the majority of them didn't even know Jesus. When I was there, they started pulling me to the side. You know, a lot of things happened. Dynamics really happened while I was there. And I know why I was there. God really used me. And he called me to go there for a reason. Mm-hmm. Because we started having prayer meetings on the outside of the government facility because they wouldn't allow us to have it on the inside. But they were knocking on my door 12 o'clock midnight, asking me questions about the Bible. They were doing this. These are hardcore gangbangers and things like that. People that wanted to know more about God, knew that there was a God, knew that Christ was the Son and the living Savior, but just didn't know how to put it together. They didn't know the fundamentals of Bible education and Bible foundation. So now you can't tell me that the world does not seek for the identity of true higher power. Mm-hmm. I know that it does. It's all in the presentation and introduction. And if you tell me that I can't bring it to your table, these people bound, come on now, in ignorance to their deliverance.
Yes.
That's just my opinion, of course.
Well, I was wondering, did you go through the program and then you realize, okay, no, this is, but then you just answered it. You know, you went to the Bible portion of it as opposed to the 12-step. And I'm sure eventually that's how DTR was born. I'm kind of gathering all this together because you said even after, you know, the Lord blessed you and delivered you, people were referred to you. They were calling you.
Definitely.
and you were referring them to go and get help. Now I'm going to say something, step out on a limb here.
Sure.
You know, my mind goes so much when people are talking and, you know, sometimes I can't stop it, but I'm going to say this, and you probably have heard this before. Yeah. And you know, I recall, you know, back in our young days, and then I recall when, you know, you were out there, and you know, my heart went out, and then the Lord brought you back, and I, you know, was so grateful for that. But that, you know, sometimes now the one scripture is my favorite scripture, and I firmly believe it, that all things work together. Sometimes when we go through things and we deal with different things, it may not be pleasant all the time. It may not feel good. We may be like, okay, here we have a preacher's kid, okay, a PK. And he was out there, you know, like he said, he was a thug trying to be a church boy.
Yeah, pretty much.
He was out there. And, you know, I'm sure people, you know, had their whatever they want to say, you know, about it. And, you know, because people going to talk. They're going to say whatever they're going to say, you know, while you're out there. But I want to say that I believe that the Lord allowed you to go through that addiction.
Yeah.
I believe he allowed that so that you could help somebody else. I'm not only talking about after you were delivered. You just got through saying that when you were in the program, they were coming to your door, knocking on your door at midnight. They wanted to hear.
My assignment in life was very clear before I got out of the program.
See,
I mean, it was really, really clear. And I agree with you. God allowed me in my disobedient way. You know, one thing about it, he's not going to be outdone. He takes things and confounds people all the time. With things that shouldn't happen, he allows it to happen, and he makes it shift to be a blessing to his name.
Yes.
Right. And I'm just one of those products, just one of the product that he does that with, and I'm just grateful for that. But in my wayward way, he had taken, you know what, when you look at it, it's really it's the wasteful son, the prodigal son. You know, when you really look at it, I had lived that life. And even when I came back to my father's house, and I'm not talking about R.D. Hinton as much as I'm talking about God, he did to me just like the word said. When wayward son came back, he was given a celebration. He was loved. He was forgiven back into a place that he didn't deserve, but yet because he came back and because he was loved by the Father, he did it. That's the same thing he did to me.
Right.
And because of those things, I understand that was my assignment. And I started out doing these things, and passionately, I started out, like I said, putting people into detox and rehabs, all types of. Listen, they in the neighborhood, they knew who I was, and I would come out, and there would be a sign on my car because they didn't want to ring my bell. I'll be at such and such. I'm tired. Can I talk to you?
Wow.
And before I go to work, 8 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, I would stop and talk to somebody, maybe drop them off at a place, be a little bit late for work, and then come back, and I started building a relationship now with a lot of institutions and facilities because of that.
Okay.
And I started talking before I know it now, I'm doing things like speaking at the University of Illinois, the University of Chicago, I should say. I'm down there and I'm speaking, I'm doing things, and then I get into the NYSP program down there, and I'm teaching every day down there. And then I started going before the student body, and that went on for quite some time. I also went down to the county we went into 4 divisions. I've trained 80 certified facilitators, and we went down to 4 different divisions twice a week teaching, and 2 or 3 at a time with this book that I created called Deliverance Through Recovery. Now, Deliverance Through Recovery comes in 4 phases. And just like this book right here that you see, this is the interactive book. But there's a book that mirrors this, that is the educator's book, or I should say the facilitator's book. Okay. And it gives the answers, and it gives the footnotes on the things like that. I would also want to say now in Deliverance Through Recovery, if I can change it right quick. Okay. Deliverance Through Recovery, when you see it, when you read it, when you go through this book, it does not start with stories about Daniel's in the lion's den. It don't start by Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. It's not about David and Goliath. Right. This is not that. We talk about everyday situations. These stories are everyday situations. We talk about Stockholm Syndrome. Yes. How the people were caught for almost the better part of a year. They were imprisoned in a place called Stockholm. And when they were released, by the time they became enamored by their enslavers, where they didn't even want to testify against them. Right. They became an allegiance with the people that took their lives from them for almost a year. And we talk about that story, and then I just pose a question. How many of us have something in our mind that held us captive and we become enamored by? Come on now. Where in my mind is something that I need to release, that I just started being enamored to, that I need to let go?
Oh, okay. This is what I want you to do, because I want to go there. Sure. I want to go there. I want to take a quick break right here. And we can come back, because we do want to get into the discussion of, it's more than substance abuse. Sure. Because there are so many addictions, and because I want to reach my listeners. I want to reach those that are listening to me, because some may be, so wrapped up in, some things or people, that they need to be released. So we're going to take a quick break here. Come back. Bishop John Hinton is with me here on Mind, Body, and Soul. So come back after this break.
The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. Can anybody feel him? The Lord is here. It's so refreshing. The of refreshing. Times of refreshing. They come from the Lord. The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. I know somebody ought to be at your feeling. The Lord is here. It's so refreshing. The Lord is here. Oh, how refreshing. Ooh. He has my peace. And he has all of my joy. And times of refreshing, they come from the Lord. The Lord is here. Oh, thank God for Jesus. The Lord is here right now. It's so the Lord is here right now. They come. The Lord is here. Just reach out and touch him. Oh, can anybody feel him in this room? The Lord is here. He's got a blessing for you. It's so. I feel the Lord right now. The Lord is here. Can you feel his power? I can feel his anointing. This very hour. He has my peace. And he has all of my joy. He has my peace. And he has all of my joy. Oh, they come. Somebody ought to praise him. Get ready to praise him.
All right, welcome back. Mind, body, and soul with Annette. Today is Wednesday.
July.
Wow, this time is moving by so fast. And you are tuned in to this wonderful hot topic that we have. Bishop John Stephen Hinton is here in my presence, and he's a pastor. And he's just a wonderful man of God. And I tell you, I want, before we end the session today, for you to let everyone know where they can find you. It's Progressive Word Church, correct?
Progressive Word Church. And if I could, people are asking me about what to call for some help. Please take this number down if you want to. It's 312-933-6502. One more time, 312-933-6502. If you're still looking for help, because listen, I know that I'm a bishop and God blessed me to be able to be a pastor, and I appreciate all those things, but I never leave foundation. So if you know somebody that needs help, we got people that will help them. God has blessed me to put great people around me to continue this thing going on. So don't hesitate to call, leave a message. Or the better thing that you can do is to go onto my website. Could I?
Go right ahead. Yes, I want them to know.
Go to my website. It can be my website or the church's website. Let me give you the church website. It's called the PWC Church, or rather the PW Church, the PWCHURCH.org. And on there, they're going to have a section where you can, a drop down where you can put in and fill in your information. If you know somebody that needs help, if you're a person that's looking for a place to go for detox, rehab, or let's say domestic violence, whatever it is, fill out the information. You got the church app, you can go on there. There's a drop down box on our church app where you can fill in that information and we'll help you also. Or you can go to my website, which is Dr. Hinton, DRHENTON. .org or .com. You can go on there. There's a drop box for people where you can give your information, and we will take your information and then call facilities or whatever you need, and we'll get in contact with you. Also, a feeding service, you can put that in too. Are you a person that needs groceries from time to time? Well, our church, Progressive Word Church, and we deliver those things too. Drop box. Say, I'm interested in the feeding program, whatever the case may be, and we'll get in contact with you all. We do a lot of community work, and I love that. The thing is that God has blessed us with people that are community oriented. So we're successful people, Progressive Word Church. We're on 10015 South Halsted. We're only there every Thursday for service. You can meet me tonight. I'll be in Racine, Wisconsin, preaching tonight.
All right.
At Apostle Mark Webb's. I'll be at his church in Racine, Wisconsin. You can call that number I gave you, 312-933-6502, and you can meet me there. If you're in Wisconsin, Racine, meet me out there. If you got Connect out there, meet me out there tonight. I'll be at his church preaching the word. We'll be there by 7. We're going to pull out here around 5 o'clock. To make it out there. But God bless. Let's get back to the.
This is wonderful. I just want them. I want them to see your beautiful wife.
Oh yeah, I
have not met my sister though.
Oh,
not in person. I have not. LaWanda, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Y'all see him smile? He just grinning. Yeah. He grinning from ear to ear.
That's my boo now.
That's his boo. That's his boo. That's beautiful though. Yeah. That's beautiful. It looks like she. I mean, just in this picture alone, looks like she stands by your side, and we appreciate that. That's definitely not easy.
Definitely. No,
it's not easy.
No.
Now, because when you all were first married, you weren't in all these positions and all of this. Were you? You weren't a pastor?
No, I was definitely in ministry. I wasn't a pastor.
Okay.
No, I wasn't a pastor. I was basically working in substance abuse and outreach of different areas, and which is a very taxing, very demanding thing, because people call you at 3 o'clock in the morning. People call you at 4 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes you got to meet somebody at 6 o'clock in the morning. See emergencies break out.
Right.
You have to have, and she's a very understanding individual. The bottom line is that, and let me take a sidebar and tell people, I've come to find out that when you're with someone that you love, or looking for somebody that you love, getting married or whatever, understand one thing: don't get mad if they love God more than they love you. That's what you want. That's what you want.
Wow.
You don't want nobody that loves you more than they love God, because it's gonna go sideways. Look for a God-fearing, God-loving mate, and you'll have the right one.
Come on now. Well, that was a commercial break.
Yeah.
That was good information, though. Very good information. Before we left for the break, we wanted to try to go into discussion of, I see Heather Cook says truth on what you talked about with the marriage. We wanted to try and talk about the other forms of, I guess we can still call it addiction, and so that we won't be just, what's the word I'm looking for?
Surrounding substance abuse addictions.
Right. We won't just focus on that, because it's more than that. There are now, maybe you can name off some more addictions. I see, as we said earlier, Eric put on here food addictions.
Sex addictions,
yes.
Food addictions. You got people that need anger management, all these different types of things. The many gambling addictions. You have chemical induced addictions, and then you have self-induced addictions. Food addiction is self-induced. chemical, because after a while your body craves for the chemicals in the food. Gambling is a self-induced addiction. It really still releases the pleasure senses of your mind. And the thing is, if you ever want to know if you have an addiction to something, an addiction is simply something that has control of you instead of you having control of it. You know, a lot of times people, they'll take things and they don't understand what is the difference. And when do you cross over into addiction? It's when you crave it and you can't do without it. It's when it controls you. You find yourself, even when you say no, you do. You know, at night when you say, I'm on a diet, I'm not going to the refrigerator. 3 o'clock in the morning, you creeping into the refrigerator. You know, you got a problem. Yeah, it is an addiction problem. You know, and so there are many different types of addictions. Some people are addicted to the wrong type of individual.
Come on now.
Some people are, you know, can I tell you something, ladies? Let me just say this right quick. A lot of women looking for the bad, you know, the bad boy, you know, and they like the drama of a bad boy. Or rather, they like the bad boy mystery, you know, the image. But you got to understand something. Just like you're interested in that part of them, you got to take all of them. You know, everything that comes with the bad boy comes with the bad boy. Yeah. You know, they say the good boys finish last or whatever. I don't know how true that is, but you know, the thing is that when you're looking for a mate now, that you might not want the bad boy per se. You want somebody that has some sense about themselves. I'm just talking, you know, and the same thing with the brothers. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference now between a woman and a lady. I tell you something, and I come to find this out too. By trial and error, I come to find this out. I will tell you, a wife, by definition, has wife material before you marry her.
True.
Sometimes you're going to marry somebody that has not wife material in them. So don't get mad, you know, because some brothers, a lot of times they want to marry somebody because of other things. Come on now. Hello. The thought and everybody, you know, when you get, praise the Lord. Well, here it is. It has to be in them. Yes. You know, I come to find out. So he who finds a wife, not, you know,
not a diva, not a thought.
Yeah. You're going to get, So here it is. It has to be a business mind, a mind of understanding, someone that knows what that is all about. Sadly enough, we mature a little late. And we go through the throes of experiences and things like that. But basically, you're going to get what you're asking for, what you're looking for, and there's a difference now.
Yes.
You know, when it comes down to relationships. So you got a lot of people now are addicted to bad relationships. Mm-hmm. And now a young lady, if you always got a guy, and every time you attract a guy, he's the wrong guy. He's a roughneck. He's a guy in the church, and he's still the bad guy. Then you have to ask yourself, is it them or is it me? Because something on the inside of you are looking for the same mechanisms in men.
Hello.
And you have to understand now, in order to get a different type of man, you got to start thinking and doing things differently. That is an addictive mindset. You're looking for a certain image, and no matter what you do, different face, different body frames and everything else, but the same mindset. Mm-hmm. So basically, you're going into the relationship with the same type of guy over and over and over again. That's a cycle that has to end, but it ends with you understanding what is it about this person that I'm looking for, and why am I seeking that out of that individual?
Right.
So we have to understand that, you know, when you're going into those things in this relationship, if you continue to date the wrong person, it's the same type of person, stop dating. Mm-hmm. Date yourself, date God, find out what's going on. Let him become your husband, man, and reveal to you what is the missing mechanism in your mind. What is that you need a healing for? So the next time you come and you get someone, it's somebody that deserves you. Yeah, right. I mean, really deserves you, instead of you thinking that they have to basically make you exist. You exist without that individual now. Remember that. You bring something to the table, but find out what your self-worth is and know who you are before you go out there and then try to have somebody else to validate you, because what you do is you cheat yourself. You cheat yourself out your greatness. You cheat yourself out of who you really are. Don't lose yourself into somebody else. Identify you, know who you are. And then when you go out there, you can get somebody that can accompany and assist you, and you accompany and assist them as well.
I'm speechless today. I'm speechless. Are you young ladies hearing this? Young men too. But this is this is overwhelming because it's so important, because unfortunately I see so much, like some of our young women and some middle-aged women, whatever age, they're settling, and they're not, they just want any kind of man.
Sure.
And you said something, you hit on it when
Excuse me.
you mentioned about how you constantly attracting the same
Sure.
type.
Sure.
Then at that point you need to step back.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I attracting these same men? So then you do a self-examination.
Sure. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of times it's not necessarily the woman's fault where she ends up directly. It happens over circumstances. Just like the men of the street today. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay.
We got the young men out here today, and they have absolutely no respect for nobody, it seems like. They're wearing their pants down below their buttocks and everything else. They're very, very passionate, emotional young men that stay in a lot of trouble. Now, I'm not saying that everything is their fault, because we do know that there's a mechanism out there now that is set up to try to tag you as sheep. If you don't have a record, they're going to give you a record. If you keep hanging in the streets long enough, they'll find a reason.
Right.
So now there is some things out there that are already going against us, but we have a phenomenon with the black man today with this high murder rate and things like that. At the end of the day, you can look at all these things from the negation of the father. Mm-hmm. Because the dad left his post. Now, let me be honest with you. The woman, when you're dating the wrong man, that's only because your father never dated you. Men are supposed to date their daughters. They're supposed to be a representation of the man that they want their daughters to have. He's supposed to put that ring on your finger. He's supposed to take you out, not take you to McDonald's, but take you to a restaurant that exudes class and clarity. And once you get a taste for those type of things, then the man that comes to take you out is not going to think that he's going to take you to Roscoe's barbecue house and then have his way with you. No. See, fathers are supposed to instill that direction with that daughter, let them know the class and the treasure that they are, and date that daughter. But negations now of the dad not being there, being able to do that, it leaves the woman still looking, but not knowing how to find, because he's not leaving the example that he should for his daughter. Same thing with the sons, the negation of the father. We leave now the mothers there to raise our sons.
True.
Now, I just want to be clear with this and let me finish. A woman cannot raise your son. You cannot teach your son how to be a man.
Come on.
It's impossible. You're a woman. I know you try the best, and I'm going to give you 100% kudos on all those things, but it's impossible for a woman to raise a boy to be a man. You're not a boy, you weren't a man, but you do the best that you can. The problem now, I come to find out with the young men today, you all, and I want you to hear me what I said before you beat me up, amen, and start turning off the radio and everything. Just hear me. What is the problem is that when women raise boys, they also put into that boy something that men just don't put into their sons, and that's a bunch of emotion. Now, women are nurturers now. You all are made to nurture, to care, to love, to cover, you understand, to protect your child. And that's why today you have a lot of boys, 45 years old, still living with their mama in their mama's basement, still ain't got no girlfriend, don't know how to treat a woman, because the mother vicariously now becomes that boy's, they become, come on now, it's a husband and wife type of thing, even though it's mother, son. And when I say that, I'm not talking about in a sexual manner or anything. It's just complacency. And I got my son. So now here it is, he's 40 years old. And as long as he can, turn the screw up in here and put a gut up in there and put the car over here, you're fine. And now he's ruined for any way of really being able to date. I know I'm going all full line on this thing, but let me go. I'm going to do it.
Good.
So now going on. So now he's not able to date a woman that is bringing something to the table. You understand? Because he's being spoiled and nurtured at home. See, mothers, you're nurturing your sons and raising your daughters. That's why your daughters are becoming great and your sons are becoming, they're not able to produce as well. You're supposed to nurture now your daughters and raise your sons. Sons are supposed to be uncomfortable at the age of 18. That's what birds do, don't they? Once they got wings, they're ready to fly. The mother bird puts what? She puts thorns all up in the nest. because she wants that chick to fly up out of there and get his own.
Yes, right.
And it's the same thing that we're supposed to do with our sons. But our Mother's Day are just protecting our sons. And we're using the excuse of the gangs in the streets and the violence. And I understand all those things, but here it is. If he's going to college, if he's doing the things that he should do, then get him out of the neighborhood. Don't encourage him to go to a college near you so he can be by mom. Let him go and experience life. Let him spread his wings and fly. Let him go and find a husband. Amen. I'm just saying. And let that brother go so he can be the man, because what's happening there is now every in his mom's house at 40 years old is a black man that should be able to marry one of these great black women, but he can't.
But he can't.
Because he's still at home.
He's still at home. And you can't step to me like that when you're still at home.
I'm just saying, people, we're just talking now. No, don't beat me up. Don't beat me up.
Somebody already said that they are looking for part 2. I do want to say this. My name is Annette Harris, and I approve everything that Bishop John has just said to us. Oh my God, what a world of information. You know, Eric Taberbaugh says here that you are, what do you say? You're well beyond in years with your knowledge. Oh, he says Bishop John has wisdom beyond his years.
Well,
he's got street knowledge, and he's not scared.
That could be a good thing and a bad thing.
Right. No, but I think it's a good thing because, again, you know, you've experienced, you know, the street, you've experienced the church, and you can tell us. And I, you know, this is there. The ladies are chiming in. They are really enjoying this because it's needed.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, you may have to come back in a couple of weeks because Demetria Brand Triplet, when I was on the phone, she'll be in town.
Oh, fantastic.
And we may have to have her back on the show. She was on before, and she's a bullet too. Oh, so yes,
great.
We're going to have to talk about that. Thank you, Demetria, for reminding me of that.
Sure.
But yeah, this is good. You went in so many different directions, but again, you were still talking about it. It still, you know, wraps up and talks about the dysfunctionalism. Yes, I totally agree, because there are so many that will attract, you know, these individuals, and it's a constant, you know, cycle, you know, never ending, it seems.
Yes.
You know, for some, and they need to know. Some of them don't want to be in that. And I think I said that earlier. I know I said it on Facebook Live. Sometimes people are addicted, or they are, you know, involved, and they don't want to be. You know, we even talked about that on the phone the other day.
Yes.
And you even shared about your own personal, about you didn't want to be how you were. You did not.
Yes.
You know, I can just about, you know, safely say a lot of them, they don't want to be in that position, and they want somebody to reach out and to pull me out and to tell me and to shake me, or to, you know, inform me, okay, stop, no, this is what you do, and try to help them. So that's why, again, I just believe it is our responsibility to get this out. And I mean, you are really laying some stuff in here, and I know that.
Oh, thank you.
Were you going to add anything else to that? Or
well, you know, I did want to say now, Deliverance to Recovery has been taught some of everywhere. We launched in Atlanta 2 years ago. It's online.
Okay.
If you want to get one of the manuals, they come in 4 parts. 4 phases. You can have the interactive manual, and you can have the facilitator's manual. I would say get the interactive manual. But
okay,
you can
what's
get
the website?
That on TryDTR, TryDTR.com.
TryDTR.
TryDTR.com. TryDTR.com. You can go there. You can order the manuals, and it'll be shipped to you. The price is on there.
Okay.
And listen, it will bless you. And this is not just for someone that is going through substance abuse. And I keep trying to tell people this is not about substance abuse. It's about having a whole mind function of prosperity in your life, knowing how to navigate through life.
Right.
And letting old past issues, let the dead bury the dead. Let them be gone. How to overcome the demons in your life so you can become powerful and enriched in your life. Because it's those small things now that keep us away from going to the next level in life that God intends for us to do.
Yes.
And to be there. It's those small things in the mind. You can't keep saying that's how my mama was, so that's how I am. Quit letting your mother's burdens keep you from getting to the next level in your life. I'm just talking now. I'm just talking.
Right,
The bishop is in the house.
The bishop is in the house.
And I'm just saying a little bit of this now. You don't let your mama's stuff and your daddy's stuff keep you from where God wants to take you, because he wants to take you higher than your mama and your daddy. Amen.
Right.
So, amen. You just want to go ahead and be able to get in a mindset of being able to fit to be able to go into any area, any place, be your own the place, own up to who you are, and let God bless you for being who you are.
Beautiful, beautiful. I want you to take me into, whether you call them sessions, when you are having, I guess I could call them sessions now, when you're, have your DTR sessions. Take me into a day, or I don't know when you normally have it, in the evenings or during the day. Do you have like groups of people that come in? How set it up for us? Tell us about how it works.
Well, first off, I am a counselor, so
Okay.
and I am in the network. So I do have private counseling one-on-one. I do family counseling, marital counseling, and I also do counseling for people that are into struggles of life, and not necessarily, like I said, substance abuse, but whatever the case may be. And so now it depends on really the individual. Everybody is different. So the first thing that I do is listen. At the end of the day, I listen. Can I tell you what I found out about people? When people really are at the place where they come to pay for counseling, they're at a place where they really want to be fixed. Whatever's broke, they want it done. They want to go to the next level. They want to change. They're not at that level where a lot of us are saying, oh, ain't never on my mind, I don't do counseling. Babe, you don't understand. Counseling is healthy maintenance. That's what that is.
Right.
And that's why people that are not black, non-black people, they run to their counselors.
Yes, they
I'm
will.
just saying they run to their counselors, but it seems like we run from counselors. And now God talks about counsel everywhere in the Bible. Okay, you go in the Bible, and what are you talking? He's always talking about counsel. And so now, depending on the individual that comes, I'm gonna find out exactly what's going on by listening to that person. And I come to find out a lot of times it's not what you say, it's what you don't say.
Okay, that's true.
So I basically pay attention to that individual. You'll tell me that something's wrong, but then I have to find out what's going on. A lot of times people come to counsel and they want to talk about what's wrong in a relationship. But I'm a different type of individual. When you come in a relationship for your marital relationship, you want to talk to me, I don't necessarily hear what's wrong with your spouse. I want you to tell me what's wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because
now, do you ask them that, or do you just take a listen?
First. You always listen first.
Mm-hmm.
You always listen to an individual first, see where they are. And when a person gets there, sooner or later, a lot of times if you let them talk, they'll find it.
And you won't have to ask them anything.
So you ask small questions. It's kind of like dropping crumbs to leave a trail. Bit by bit, because they basically know the answer. They're just, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They need the interpreter to help them get there. That's all it is.
True.
Talking about healthy mindset and going somewhere and to a place in their life and being able to be released. They already know basically what they need to do. Times you just drop the breadcrumbs and allow them to talk through the situation.
Right.
There's someone a little bit more extreme than that. You got different types of I don't want to talk about too much about the counseling sessions openly, because when they come for counseling, they'll be like, oh, I heard him say this. Okay, so he's doing this to me.
Right. Almost giving your secrets away. But you know what I can say about me? I say this. I put up a little meme on my Facebook wall not too long ago, and I said, keep talking, I'm analyzing you. And I tend to do that, and it's kind of hilarious sometimes. I'm on the phone with my sister, and sometimes we're talking, and I get real quiet, and she says, "Stop analyzing," because she knows this is what I'm doing. But it actually comes natural for me. I don't know why, but
I can see.
Yeah, and so even when you're talking, I'm analyzing. Counselor, analyzer, counselor. No.
Aside, I'll call you later. Tell me what you
think. Right. No, but it is good. I'm glad you focused on talking about listening.
Mm-hmm.
Listening, and which is key. It's definitely key, because you said it too, and I totally agree. A lot of times when they do get to the point where they come in to see you or to see a counselor, mm-hmm. that means they're serious enough. Sure. But they are. It's like it's almost like they want you to confirm,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or they just need your ear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they can talk this thing out. They've probably been going over and over it in their minds. Yes, I need to let this man go because he's no good for me. Mm-hmm. Yes, I need to stop with this sexual whatever escapade that mm-hmm. I'm on. And they've been thinking this in their mind. They know this, and So to come and just have a sit down conversation, with the counselor, that is something that would definitely help them.
I would encourage, if you don't mind, I would
Sure.
encourage really us in this, can I say, especially in the house of the Lord, seek some wise counsel. Um, Here's a problem that I see a lot of times in church. I know people that have got up and shouted over victory for 30 years of the same problem. And every week they get up, they shout, they do splits and things like that and somersaults, and they go home. And guess what? They go home
back
to the same problem.
Yep.
Well, I venture to say that if the same problem is still there, maybe it's not God's will that you are going through a hard time or long suffering. Maybe that's not a fruit of the spirit. Maybe that's a mindset. And maybe you need to and I'm just saying, maybe sometimes we need to get counseling, good God counseling, God wise counseling about who you are and where you are and what you can't get past. Once you come into a mountain, there's two things that can happen with a mountain now. According to the word, it says you can speak to the mountain, and with great faith, the mountain will be removed. But then sometimes a mountain is put there for you to be able to climb for the experiences that it has for you.
Sure.
And if you keep avoiding the mountain and you don't want to climb, then can I tell you something? Then the experiences that you're going to need to bring you to a place and a level in life, you'll never get there. In time, if you don't climb the mountain, how in the world will you get up? How will you go? How will you excel? Because that mountain also is there to excel you, to get you to a higher climate than where you were. So not all mountains are necessarily meant to be spoken to be cast into the sea or cast out of your way. Sometimes the mountain is there to give you character, to give you a better understanding, a better perspective, maturation of life, and to put you in a place that is higher than you were before.
Wow. Our trials come to make us.
Our trials come to make us.
They do. They definitely do. May not feel good. May not feel good while you in
And
it.
they won't feel good.
No. Yeah, tell me. Somebody tell me, when did it feel good when you were in that trial and that test? I mean, you just really, constantly going through. No, it does not feel good. But there you have to have rain to grow. And you have to have that dirt, for the plants and everything to grow. So this is, the Lord wants to establish us, and He doesn't want us to just like break down, when we are dealing with things. I'm looking here on Facebook Live. They're chiming in like crazy. Demetrius says personal change happens in the mind first. I totally agree. That is my statement for sure. Everything starts in the mind. And she also says situations are there to make us grow up. I agree. Heather, I see your comment here. She's laughing at me. She says, yes, I am analytical. She knows me. That's my little sister. She knows. She says, she told me that I'm analytical. So also, let's see, what did I miss? Dimitri also says, we just want someone to show love to us in the midst of our journey, because the person going through oftentimes feels less than in some areas of life, and the addiction is there to fill the void. We must address our issues. Yeah, I always say the quickest way for you to get help is to admit you need it.
Sure. And addiction is real simple. It starts very easy and very friendly, but it ends very violently. But an addiction, now you have to understand, is there to compensate, to take the place of something that's not there. That's why people have addictions. I was explaining to you, addiction is kind of like a roller coaster ride. If you've ever been on a roller coaster ride, you get on a roller coaster. Listen, it is fun.
Yeah.
Nobody has ever fallen to an addiction of something they don't like. It has to be fun to them. But imagine you getting on a roller coaster, and the mechanism that stops the roller coaster breaks. And now you're there 3 minutes, and then 5 minutes. And then 30 minutes later, you're still on that roller coaster ride. I guarantee you, nobody will be screaming from enjoyment. They'll be screaming from wanting to get off. They'll be turning green. They'll be getting sick. They'll be begging and praying to God to get them off of the ride. Well, you know what? Addiction is just like that. It starts off as a roller coaster ride, but somewhere the lever gets broke. And when they want to stop, they can't stop. And they're on that ride for sometimes forever.
Right. Definitely.
So sometimes we just need to understand that, people, when they're in the throes of addiction, they start out thinking that they can stop. And by the time they realize that they can't stop, they can't do anything about it. It's too late. So we need to learn now how to talk to people, how to be able to relate to people, how to reach people, and understand that person didn't become an addict just for nothing. He became an addict for something. Two people go to college, right quick. Two people go to college. They both go to binging, college experience and things like that, hazing and things like that, and then start the binging in fraternities or sororities or whatever. One person, after 4 years, he gets out of college, he's successful. The other person, when he was introduced into binging with drinking, he never finished college. He turns into a notorious alcoholic. He never completes his life. What was the difference between the two? I will tell you the difference between the two. Simple. Experience. One individual had a healthy lifestyle that he was living in and didn't have to run from certain things. The other, a lot of times, had a lifestyle about things that he wanted to forget.
Right.
Drinking, understood, gave him a better perspective. I don't have to think about that today. When I drink, I don't think about those demons. When I drink, I can escape that. When I drink, I'm somebody different. I don't have to be me. I'm not suffering from low self-esteem. I'm the life of the party. When I drink, it changes your character. So that person now automatically to alcohol because of what it does.
Right. Definitely.
So it's about past experiences. Your past experiences will make who you are. And if you don't stop to fight the demons of your past experience, then guess what? You'll always be there. Can I tell you something? There are more people that need to listen to that never experienced a drug, but still have to learn how to break free from past experiences in your life. At the end of the day, a perfect world, nobody has the uncle that, that touched them wrong. In a perfect world. In a perfect world, nobody has a dad that abused them or the mother that forsake them or whatever the case may be. In a perfect world. This is not a perfect world. And parenting doesn't come with instructions. And some people's low is not the next person's low. So you never know exactly what's going to hit up one person and it's drastic to that individual, because the other person, it might not be that drastic. That's why siblings can go through the same experience, but one sibling gets bound in alcoholism and drugs and things like that because they could not take the experience. So it's about past experiences.
It is. And everybody's threshold is different.
Yeah.
Bishop, we're out of time.
Wow.
We're out of time. That went by so very, very fast. And, you all can keep making your comments here on Facebook Live. I'll leave it up. But we're going to wrap this session up because I know we do have another show that comes in after us. But I do want to thank you and let you know that I appreciate you again for taking time out on today.
I appreciate the time.
So we are going to have him back. I love to put people on blast, on the air and let them know they're going to come back. And we're going to have him back on the show so that we can finish. There's so many other ways that we can go with this. But we thank you for introducing DTR to us on today and informing us. And I'm sure that we have helped someone on today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me now.
All right. You are appreciated. I love you so much. Well, I thank you all again, all my listeners, Facebook Live, on the website, and on YouTube for listening to us on today. We do appreciate you taking time out, joining us on your lunch hour, or wherever you are on today. I appreciate you, and we will look forward to seeing you all on next week. And until then, I want you to get caught up with.
You've just been listening to Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette, where your host, Annette Harris, provided you with psychological and biblical insight for your everyday concerns. Need more insight? Visit Annette's Facebook page at Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette. Don't forget, tune in next week for Mind, Body, and Soul with Annette.